Hey friend, it is so good to see you again, and welcome to In Order of Preference, a show in which I talk about a director, an actor, a musician, or a general artist and rank their work in order of my preference. Today we are going to talk about one of the most influential pop-punk bands of the 2000s and the 2010s, Paramore. Over the years, Paramore have solidified themselves as a genre-defining band and have constantly made their sound more and more versatile depending on how music changes throughout the years. As well as this, Hayley Williams has one of the most iconic voices and one of the most technically impressive voices that very much matches any genre that she attempts to perform. I saw them live in 2014 at Reading and Leeds Festival, and they also put on a blinder of a live show. They've acted as a catalyst for so many people growing up, musically, technically, stylistically. They're really not a band to sleep on. So what are we waiting for? Let me tell you what I think about these albums. 2005 marked a genre-defining year for modern pop-punk. It was the year that gave us the debuts from bands such as Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, which obviously propelled them into the stratosphere. Another debut album that came out that year is Paramore's All We Know Is Falling, released in July of 2005. It definitely kick-started the extensive career that Paramore would continue to have for years to come, landing them as a support act for several big tours as well as a record contract. The thing with this album is it shows a great deal of potential. It definitely has all of the building blocks of the writing style, the aesthetic, Hayley's impressive vocals. However, apart from that, I don't think there's a whole lot you can get from All We Know Is Falling. The album still blends punky musicality with tuneful pop vocals in an aggressive and in-your-face way, but it lacks the nuance that the rest of the albums in their discography showcase so well. This thing is also a massive step down in terms of production compared to every other Paramore album. The tones of the instruments remain basically the same throughout the entire thing, and it just feels repetitive after a while. The songs also don't show a great deal of versatility in the songwriting, but I do feel that also comes down to the production at the end of the day and the limited resources that they had. But like I said before, this thing had so much potential, and it was definitely all seized. It has all of the perfect things that Paramore would improve on over time. It is just a sign that they needed to improve a little more to break that mold. Following the unbelievable success of Riot in 2007, the band released a third studio album, Brand New Eyes, in 2009. A lot of fans and critical sources said that Brand New Eyes marked a significant point of maturity for the band, both lyrically and musically. It's been debated that Brand New Eyes was the band trying to outgrow the teen pop-punk vibe that Riot had so brazenly marked them with. And while I totally agree that there is a definite show of growth in the maturity of the band in the songs, I can't necessarily say that that's a good thing. The few songs on this album that exhibit both the growth in their maturity, but also keeping in touch with the lovable and forceful energy of the band's previous project, are some of their best. Brick by Boring Brick and Feeling Sorry are two songs that really stand out on this project for me as carrying the energy from Riot onto the next project. For a lot of the album, however, it just feels like some of the songs sound hollow compared to the last album. Rob Cavallo was the producer on this project, and I can't help but feel the production is so condensed that it doesn't have the same explosive atmosphere that their other albums were able to achieve. In certain ways, the maturity that people were talking about to do with this album more felt like a regression in their momentum to me. But, that being said, even though a lot of these tracks don't have the same energy that they did on Riot, this album has some of the band's best work. I know Hayley Williams absolutely despises the song The Only Exception, but it really marked a massive stepping stone in the band. It was their breakout into mainstream pop, basically. The song All I Wanted is incredibly heartfelt and truly explosive compared to the rest of the album. It's also become a TikTok trend, and I'm fine with that, but please just listen to the song as well because it deserves so much love than just those 4 bars. But yes, Brand New Eyes, a very good album, just not one of their best. Let's jump 8 years after the release of Brand New Eyes to 2017, which marked the release of Paramore's After Laughter, their 5th studio album. Paramore's self-titled album in 2013 definitely was a signal that they were moving away from their punk sound and embracing more pop conventions, but also remaining true to their roots that their fans could get on board with. After Laughter, however, is almost a complete departure from their original sound, pretty much only using conventions in pop music, funk music, and a lot of it being kind of 80s throwback as well. Stylistically, After Laughter was a very bold move, but it turned out to be a very successful one. The first single from the album, Hard Times, went viral and is still one of the band's biggest hits today, and rightfully so. It's a fucking bop. The wonderful thing about this album is that it's their happiest sounding album by a long shot, but lyrically the most bleak and morbid one. A common theme of pop punk is music that you can dance to and throw yourself around to, while also relating to the painful lyrics. Paramore made an incredibly smart move, translating that theme into dance pop music. While the album is an incredibly infectious and fun time, I do think it is a little bit one note. To me, Paramore's best albums feature a lot of peaks and troughs, both musically and lyrically. They play like an exciting narrative story. However, After Laughter definitely feels like just a very happy time musically, with consistently bleak lyrics, with not a lot of light until near the end. And at the start of the album, I always found myself loving that and being fully on board, but at the end, it just feels slightly gimmicky. But make no mistake, this is a solid album, and I would definitely recommend it if you need a cry, or if you need to dance, or if you need both. Just go off, do you, feel better. Riot is arguably Paramore's most significant album. It defined a whole new era of pop punk and inspired so many new people to become fans of the genre. Every song on this album is filled to the brim with ambition, passion, anger, angst, and sheer joy. It feels like All We Know Is Falling, their debut album, was injected with so much adrenaline that it would keel over. Not only was it a massive improvement in the versatility of the instrumentals, it really showcased Hayley Williams' vocals in the way that they are meant to be showcased. The song Hallelujah is absolutely piercing in the best of ways, and of course, Misery Business is one of the most exciting and rabble-rousing pop-punk songs of that decade. It was produced by David Bendeth, and I think the production on it is near perfect. It feels wide and open and booming, as if they knew that these songs were going to be played in arenas one day, while Brand New Eyes production just felt like they were being played in a room in a studio. Riot was one of my first introductions to the genre and kicked off my emo phase, thank you so much for that. And while some records from this era have not aged well, they just seem a bit naff now, Riot is definitely not one of them. It holds so high as one of the most significant albums of the genre and as some of the band's best work to date. I was debating whether to put this at number 1 or not due to the significance and the more large-scale love that Riot received, but in terms of how much I enjoyed these albums, this one has to be at the top of my list. Paramore decided that their 4th studio album would be self-titled, and I honestly think that was a perfect decision, because this album to me represents everything that Paramore is. Infectious choruses, perfect blends between genres, and an ambitious sense of rebellion through feel-good music. The record that came out in 2013 also marked the start of their departure from the original genre, a lot of the songs being pretty much just pop songs with flavors of electronic music as well, but they remain true to the energy that they had created in the albums before, and the messages they were portraying remained consistent, as well as the infectious energy that they had. And to me, the production on this album is perfect. It is huge, it's grand, it's unbelievably bone-rattling. It is designed to be played as loud as possible. The album received a bit of criticism from the fans that were so used to the original sound and still very much fans of that sound, But I feel like Paramore made an incredibly smart decision. I feel like their transition from genre to genre was very seamless, very effective, and one of the best attempts from a band like this to date. Bands like Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, My Chemical Romance, when it came to them making the same transitions from one genre to another, it felt almost like whiplash. It was a very sudden change. But Paramore stayed true to what made them great and what created their massive fan base in the first place, and combined that with the creativity that they wanted to explore on this project. The biggest songs on this project, Ain't It Fun and Still Into You, are absolutely great. I don't understand how people cannot bop to these songs, they're so good. This album was both their most accessible album in a mainstream sense and also their most artistically adventurous. They reach corners of the genre with this project that many bands hadn't in the past, all while topping the charts and making some of the most memorable songs of the 2010s. That is the end of my silly little list. Thank you so much for listening. Give these albums a listen, let me know what you think, make up your own mind. You are your own person, and I'm so proud of you. Let me know what you would like me to talk about next, and I will see you next time. Stay safe now.